Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the channel. Remember to like, share, comment, and subscribe, and also watch the ads. Watch the ads, please, as much as is possible. All right, so this is going to be part 2 of the 2018 paper 2. So this is part 2 of the 2018 paper 2 that I will be doing right now. So we would have worked out the first 4 questions. So now it is time for the option section. So you'll be given a choice between or to choose among tourism, consumer affairs, woo! Sorry about that, and also communication. All right, let me just plug in this laptop because it is about to die. Yes, it is about to die. So, all right, so I'm sharing my screen now so you can see what the questions are, right? Remember, for this section, you are only to answer what they ask you. So you don't need a thesis statement and any conclusion and anything like that. You just go straight into answering, and you answer in a paragraph, right? So you indent for each part of the question. So each of the parts make up the entire 20 marks, right? So let's look first at the communication question. So it says, write an essay on the above topic, which is sociocultural influences on communication in the Caribbean. So write an essay on the topic above. In your essay, define the term receiver in the communication process. State 2 factors other than cultural differences that are likely to cause a breakdown in communication. Describe 2 ways in which people's beliefs may influence the form or medium used in communication. Suggest 3 strategies a business may use to assist clients who cannot communicate in the language of the host country. Explain why each strategy is likely to be successful. Good. So the first one says, define the term receiver. So you're going to start by saying a receiver is the person who the message is sent to or the person who gets the message. Then you indent, do not skip a line, you indent and you go to the next part of the question that says state 2 factors other than cultural differences that are likely to cause a breakdown in communication. So you begin your answer by saying 2 factors other than cultural differences that are likely to cause a breakdown in communication are geographical factors and also technological factors. Geographical factors would include things that make the communication, things that can interrupt the communication, like the distance, signal, a breakdown in technology, right? The light goes away, so there is no internet, or the internet is slow and is lagging. So those are 2 factors which are likely to cause a breakdown in communication. Then you indent again for the next part of the question that says, describe 2 ways in which people's beliefs may influence the form or medium used in communication. So the form or medium is what is used to communicate. How can people's belief contribute to that, right? You have some persons who are like Christians or who are religious who believe that the internet is evil, right? So they're not going to use WhatsApp, they're not going to use email to communicate because they think that it is from the devil and it is evil. Also, you have some persons who will not use cell phones, right? They would prefer house phones because they believe that the government can track you through the use of your cell phone, especially through the use of face recognition technology that a lot of smartphones have. Your fingerprint, right? Persons believe that the government probably keeping this in a tank that they can use against them in the future. So those kinds of beliefs can influence what people use to communicate, right? You have the Maroons who communicate using drumming. When they're doing things and they don't want people to understand what they're saying, they use drums to communicate instead of talking over the phone. And also, in addition to that, you have some people who don't talk certain information over the phone because they believe that the government is listening to the conversation. So they would prefer to meet face to face in order to have certain conversation, right? The last part of the question now says, suggest 3 strategies a business may use to assist clients who cannot communicate in the language of the host country. Then the next part of the question says, explain why each strategy is likely to be successful. This is where a lot of students lose marks because these two parts are 6 marks each, right? So it's such as 3 strategies, that's 6 marks, and why each strategy will be successful, that's another 6 marks. So you have to list, you have to state your 3 strategies. Do not give its success, just state the strategy. For example, so there's 3 strategies a business may use to assist clients who cannot communicate in the language of the host country. All right, they can have an interpreter, right, at the business. So somebody who speaks multiple languages, right? Preferably the main ones. So somebody who speaks English, French, Spanish, or even Chinese, because you know that China is a big industrial country and they do business with a lot of countries, right? So if somebody comes from one of those countries that speak those languages, somebody is there who can communicate with them, right? So that's stating the strategy. Why it will be successful? It means that when persons come from their native country, they will have some sort of comfort knowing that there is somebody there who speaks their language and know that they will be able to understand and get around more easily because somebody understands them and can take their questions, queries, and concerns. So that is why it will be successful. Good? Now, another thing is to have signs in various languages. So if, for example, if there's a business in the Caribbean, right? Predominantly in the Caribbean, we speak English as our L1 or our first language, right? So if there's a business, not only have your signs, right, and information in English, but also put it in several languages too. Put it in Spanish, French, Chinese, Dutch, if possible. So if persons come to the business from those countries that speak the language, then the interpretation is there. It is also relevant because if you purchase certain goods, when you open the box and you look a booklet in there, it's not only in one language. Sometimes it is in 2, 3, 4 different languages. So anybody who purchases it from anywhere, they will get an understanding of how to set up the item, right? Because it is in several languages. Sometimes when you buy something from China, it would be so difficult if it is only in the Chinese language because we don't speak Chinese, but it is in English, Spanish, right? So it's easier for us to navigate through it. Another thing is to have a picture dictionary. So we have pictures with the language, because sometimes even if your language is not there, you can use the picture to identify what it is or what the thing is saying. All right, that will be successful. People are going to easily navigate it and they will continue to be repeat customers because they will have a feeling that you understand that we don't normally speak one language, but we speak several languages, right? So if them can't understand what you're saying, you understand what they are saying, then they're going to be repeat customers. And the most powerful marketing tool is word of mouth. So if people can say, yes, if you buy it from that business, even though I speak Spanish, they have the information in Spanish as well. Persons who speak Spanish, they are one to go to purchase from that company too, because the company looks out for them and understands and cater to their needs and wants. So that's it. We finish with the communication question. Next question now would be consumer affairs. So this says, write an essay on the above topic, which is debit and credit cards influencing consumer spending. Write an essay on the above topic. In your essay, define the term consumer. State 2 categories of consumers who benefit from the use of credit and debit cards. Explain 2 ways in which credit and debit cards influence consumers' demand for goods and services. Suggest 3 strategies that consumers may use to protect themselves when using debit and credit cards to purchase goods and services. Explain why each strategy is likely to be successful. So first it says define the term consumer. A consumer is a person who uses goods and services to satisfy their needs and wants. That's simple. So we indent again for the second part of the question. It says state 2 categories of consumers who benefit from the use of credit and debit cards. two categories would be individual consumers and also business consumers. They benefit from credit and debit cards. Good. Next part says, explain two ways in which credit and debit cards influences consumer demand for goods and services. How does the use of credit cards and debit cards influence consumers' demands for goods and services? How? We're thinking and wondering, how does this influence? Good. It influences it in relation to debit and credit cards because the amount of money that is available to the consumer will determine what the person can buy, right? So if the person have a good amount of money, it means that they will be able to buy a good amount of goods or purchase a good amount of services, right? One of the things about credit cards is that you don't have to pay the money right away, right? So even if you don't have the physical money in your account, credit card gives you a limit so you can still purchase the goods or the services, right? And then pay at a later date. Good? Because sometimes for myself as a consumer, sometimes I use my credit card to pay for things until I get my salary at the end of the month. Then I pay a particular amount on the credit card, or I pay off the credit card, right? So what is available determines what you can purchase. Good? You don't have to use your personal money. You use the financial institution's money. Good? So even if, as I said before, you don't have the physical money in your account, you can always use your credit card. But if you have a debit card now and you don't have any money on it, then your demand is going to be low. Understand? Good. So such as 3 strategies the consumers may use to protect themselves when using debit and credit cards to purchase goods and services, and again explain why each strategy is likely to be successful. So when you give your strategy, you must explain why your strategy is likely to be successful. So for me, I tell my students to use the term by saying this. After you've given your strategy, please state and say this strategy is likely to be successful because. All right, let me give you an example. Few strategies consumers may use to protect themselves when using debit and credit cards to purchase goods and services. One strategy that they can use when they're using the debit and credit card, please cover your PIN. Please cover your PIN. Whenever you're entering your PIN on the point of sale machine, do not just put in your PIN like that. Use your hand and cover your PIN so that nobody can get your PIN for your card, because people out there can duplicate your card and steal your information. This is likely to be successful because when you cover your PIN, it is unlikely that somebody, highly unlikely that somebody will be able to see your PIN, steal your PIN, and probably use it, duplicate your card and use it or put it in after you have gone, right? So it is going to protect your PIN, thus protecting your account or protecting your card. Another strategy is to always check your receipt. Whenever you get a receipt after you've used your debit or your credit card, please check the receipt and ensure that the figures are lining up. So whatever the cashier say, if they say it's $10, ensure that the receipt that you get after your card has been run, it is $10. This is going to be successful because if there's a discrepancy, you can deal with it right then and there on spot. Well, another strategy to protect yourself when using your debit or credit card is to set up online banking, right? Online banking where you can check your account regularly. Or even if you're probably not into technology like that and you don't want to set up online banking, you need to check your account if it's even over the phone or going into the bank. You must check up on your account regularly. This is likely to be successful because whenever you check up on your account regularly, you can see if there's any discrepancy where you can deal with it right then and there as quickly as possible. Because sometimes people steal people's information, people hack into people's account, right? And take out money out of their account or charge their cards. So when you check your account regularly, you set up internet banking where you can do this check, you'll be able to see what is happening in your account on a daily basis, on a weekly basis. I will suggest that you check your account at least 2 times per week. All right, so that's it for the consumer affairs question. Next question now is on tourism. This says, write a speech that you would present to your school's environmental club on the topic below. Tourism and the Caribbean environment. Begin your speech by defining the term international tourist. So an international tourist is a person who travels outside of their geographical region for more than 24 hours, but less than a year for pleasure or for business. That person is considered an international tourist. For example, traveling from the United States to Jamaica. Good? Next part of the question says, outline one reason why international tourism is important to Caribbean countries. Why is international tourism important to Caribbean countries? Because tourism is one of the main foreign exchange earners for Caribbean countries. And because of that, most Caribbean countries are heavily dependent on tourism as an income earner. Not only as an income earner, but tourism generates a lot of employment, both directly and indirectly. So it is very, 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 very important to Caribbean countries. Good. Next part says, explain two ways in which tourism development has contributed to the pollution of the marine environment of some Caribbean countries. Tourism development has contributed to pollution because many of the sectors in tourism do not dispose of their waste properly, both solid waste and also liquid waste, right? It's not disposed of properly, and many of this waste finds itself into our water bodies, mainly our rivers and seas, and damages the marine environment. Good. Certain water sports that is done by some of these hotels also damages the marine environment too, right? Another issue is that some tourists, when they go snorkeling or deep sea diving, they sometimes remove parts of the coral reef, which ends up damaging the whole thing and makes it die or makes it not looking so beautiful anymore, right? There's also coral bleaching. There can be some research into what coral bleaching is. Good. Suggest 3 actions that the government of a Caribbean country may take to protect marine environment from pollution, and you're going to also justify. So you're going to explain why each of the actions is likely to be successful, right? So one action that the government of a Caribbean country may take to protect marine environment from pollution is education and awareness. If people are not aware, then they may not know that what they are doing, what they are contributing to, is causing a major problem for the marine environment, or is causing what we call pollution, right? So people must be aware that certain actions will actually contribute to the pollution of the marine environment. So education and awareness. This is going to be effective because once people know, then they can stop what they are doing that is causing the pollution, or they can help to reduce the pollution. So if I know, I can also inform people. If I know and I'm not contributing to the pollution, right, I can inform others, especially if I see somebody doing something that is contributing to the pollution. I can say, hey, you know, whenever you dispose of your garbage like that in the gullies, right, it's washed out into the rivers and the sea, which damages the marine environment. Or if you release your sewage like that, it ends up in the sea, which damages the marine environment, right? So education and awareness is very effective. Another one is legislation by the government. So put laws in place that makes pollution illegal. This is going to be successful because the contributors to pollution, they would stop or reduce the levels of pollution because they know that the law is there to charge and prosecute them. And if they are found guilty, they will be charged a fine or they will be sent to prison. And nobody don't want to pay this whole heap of money to the government for a fine, or nobody wants to go to prison or to jail if found guilty. So that is how legislation will be effective. Another one is implementation of sustainable tourism practices. Good. So ensure that waste is disposed of properly so as not to pollute the environment. This is going to be effective, you know, because if the waste is disposed of properly, it means that we're going to have less pollution of the environment, and this can also influence other persons who might have been contributing to pollution, because they can say if that person is disposing of their garbage in the correct and proper way, then I also can dispose of it. And as I said before about education and training, sometimes people don't know, and when they see somebody doing the right thing, it can have a multiplier effect that they also want to do the right thing. All right, ladies and gentlemen, so we would have completed all of the 2018 paper 2, right? Remember to like, share, comment, and subscribe, right? So hopefully I can do another paper soon. Thank you guys for watching. Remember to go over to my other channel and subscribe. So go over to Curry Fences as well and subscribe. Thank you guys for watching. See you in my next video.